Hey everybody, today for lunch I'm making a tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwich. You don't need much to make this. I have a couple of fresh herbs, some oregano and some basil, can of condensed tomato soup, cup of milk, paprika, seasoning salt, obviously a couple slices of bread and a couple of slices of cheese. Let's get going on this. Alright, off in the far corner of the shot over here is the miso soup I actually made in my last video. You can check that video out in the Simple Cooking Time playlist. The only thing I've done differently to it now is I've added a couple of turkey legs to give it some meat. So first thing you're going to get started is your soup. So for that, just like making any other can of condensed soup, except instead of adding water, add a can worth of milk. Since you're using milk though, put it on only a medium heat because you don't want it to boil. If it boils, it's going to give it kind of a grainy texture. After you whisk it all together here, you'll have a much creamier looking soup than you would if you used water. Now for this, if you have the fresh herbs, great. If not, sprinkle some dried ones into it right now at this stage so that they can absorb some of the liquid so that they can release their flavor. If you do have the fresh ones though, take a piece like this off and leave it off to the side, just for aesthetic purposes later. Otherwise, start pulling your leaves. For the oregano, take your fingers and just slip them down the stem, and it will just take all the leaves off for you. Now what you're going to want to do is grab a knife, and you're going to want to chop these up. Be careful, you don't have to go fast. You don't want to cut your fingers off. Now, you're going to want to take a little pinch of what you've just done, about that much. Not much at all, just about that little bit right there. Take the rest of it and put it into your soup. This will add a nice herby flavor to it. The one herb, or the one other spice that I do add a little bit of paprika into it. Just adds a little bit of a smoky flavor. Probably about a quarter teaspoon, maybe a third of a teaspoon. Now I'm going to let the soup do its thing, and we'll be back as soon as it's done. Alright, with your soup done now, you can pull it off the heat, set it off to the side, and now you can stick the frying pan on. Now, the best thing about the frying pan part is that it only needs to be on medium heat as well, so you don't have to change anything from the soup. Now, you can use butter, you can use margarine for the bread on the outside. I just happen to have margarine available. Butter does taste better if you've got it on hand. cut my cheese into little strips like this to make it so that I can get different cheese throughout the whole piece of bread. I do not butter or margarine the inside of my bread. A lot of people do. I don't. I don't want the extra fat myself. And I just lay my cheese in like this. And the little pinch of herbs, if you did have the fresh ones, they will go in right now. I just kind of sprinkle them on top. I like summertime for this just because there are lots of herbs available. That's it. Just waiting for the pan now. Grab yourself a butter knife. Now, one thing I do a little differently, and the reason why you needed the seasoning salt. Just a small sprinkle. A little goes a long way with the seasoning salt. And then I also paprika the outside as well. Just a sprinkle of that. And then into the pan it goes. Don't forget to grab a spatula, because I did. Now you're going to want to butter the other side here. You can always grab the top slice of bread as well, take it off and butter it outside of the pan. I am just hungry, so I'm just trying to get the cooking done quicker. Once that's done, same thing again. Light sprinkling of the seasoning salt. And a little bit of paprika. Now, under most circumstances, I'd be using the larger burners for this. Unfortunately, it's being used by my other soup that's on the stove right now. One thing I see people do all the time, they squish their grilled cheeses. I find that kind of wrecks them a little bit. Take a look under, see how it's doing. Now it looks nice and brown. If you're not good at flipping, which lots and lots of people aren't, and even myself, I screw it up all the time. Since it's a completely dry piece, you can just kind of hold the pan and use the pan to help you flip it. And again, now it's just a waiting game. Now when both sides are this kind of color, nice and browned, not burned, just nicely browned, and the cheese is melted on the inside, it's all done. And then you can take it off and you'll be plating it all. Alright, and this is the end result once it's all plated and everything. That piece of basil I said to keep off to the side. I put it in the soup just for aesthetic purposes, for a little bit of freshness. And then you can see in the cheese that there's herbs mixed throughout it. And this is all it is. Super, super simple, but a nice, hearty, delicious comfort food type lunch. Hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you very much.